That's much better. Now we're here, everybody. A little graphics problem, but welcome. Thanks for joining us, everybody, today on the Redefining Strength channel. And I am here with my buddy Scott D. Lewis, who I met through the Mankind Project, which maybe we can talk about a little bit later. One of the ways
Yeah,
that men can become more emotionally available is by doing that work. How are you doing today, Scott?
very good. Very good. It's great to be here. How are you?
I'm good. I got my kind of the COVID haircut thing going. I'm trying to be emotionally available with how I look and not trying to be all
Yeah.
groomed and everything. Being vulnerable right now.
Yeah. I wish I had something to cut up
All
here, but
right,
yeah.
you look great. You're symmetrical. It's lovely. But the reason you and I had been talking for a while about doing this interview because you work with men specifically about relationships and improving relationships, and then somebody spoke up the other day in the group, in the Redefining Strength Facebook group, to say essentially, what is emotional availability? How do I get it? Because if I don't, my marriage of 20 years is going to be over. And I was just like, oh, God, have we heard that story before? And just the truth and the rawness and the yeah. What did you feel when you saw that come across your Facebook feed?
Yeah, I mean, I hear that a lot from the men that I work with, and uh, and from just men in general. And yeah, I'm really concerned uh, for this man as well as others that they're going to lose a partner that they love, but they're just struggling to be able to be present in the way that their partner would enjoy. Uh, it's as you know, we were given instructions growing up that we're not supposed to be so emotionally available, otherwise we're going to look weak, and that is does not bode well for our significant relationships or for our relationship with ourselves.
Right. Yeah, boys as young as 13 know that being a man means being tough and not being emotional. Like we get that's very clear. We get that very early on. And stoicism and not letting emotions overtake us or control us. I mean, I think there's some positive aspects of that, right? Not getting too rattled, not being able to function in a world where slings and arrows are coming at us all the time. But men get kind of over rewarded for that behavior. Is that kind of a way to put it? And we don't get rewarded, especially by other men. We don't get emotional closeness. We don't get high fives, slaps on the back from men in particular when we're emotional. Sometimes our moms or our partners, our female partners might, give us some props. But most of the time it's like, I see how strong you are. Good job holding up. Way to hold it inside.
Yeah,
Way to be
boy,
tough.
boys don't cry, and it just goes on and on.
And
Yeah,
so that's functional to get us through middle school to high school, right? In the scrum of sort of the what I'll go ahead and call it the toxic masculinity of most boys groups, and then we end up in a relationship, and relationships thrive on what connection is that?
connection, yes,
Yeah, and it's pretty.
connection, partnership,
Yeah,
and
understanding.
then to go, yes, yes, and to go even deeper, to have a level of safety, to feel safe and secure with your partner, um, and then to know that you matter.
Uh,
If you're not, if someone is not emotionally available, if they're uh, walled off in some way, then you know the other partner can feel like, oh, I'm not important. I don't
yeah.
really matter to you.
Or maybe even invisible. I mean, I'm guessing that a lot of I know you're actually doing a group, a men's group specifically for guys that have had their relationships fall apart during COVID. I mean, if you're cooped up in the same house and your partner's not available for you, I would imagine that feels like you're being a ghost, that you're just not even present. if your partner's
Correct.
not showing up for you in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just real quick before we forget about it, when does that group start?
It's the last week in October
Great.
is when it's starting. I don't have it all set yet, but it's a specifically a group for men who are struggling with with being able to survive COVID, even if their relationship didn't.
Right.
Mm.
Right. And the first few months. Well, first of all, before I even go any further, I just want to say to anybody who's watching, if trying to be more emotionally available is something that you're struggling with, and you're watching this right now, just say, "Yep, me." Yep, me, and that'll be an example of being emotionally available. Just admitting that this is a struggle. Because I spent the first 2.5, 3 months of the COVID lockdown saying that I was fine and that everything was great. I loved working from home. I'm kind of a gregarious introvert, all good. And then one morning, I just didn't get out of bed. And I was like, okay, all right. There's some emotions underneath the surface that I need to pay attention to, and pay attention to the grief and the worry and the concern. And I have the vocabulary now that I can say to my wife, who's an only child. So she's an only child. So it's like if I'm in bed, not in bed, present, not present, it doesn't bother her that much. So I kind of have to be the one to say, you know what, I'm really struggling. This is getting hard all of a sudden. And then she can be there for me. But I have to be the one to recognize, oh, I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling anxious.
And that's something that's important for men. We're not always, well, we're not taught to understand or be familiar with our emotions. So it's important as a first step to notice when things are awry. Like you said, if you're having trouble getting out of bed, or you find yourself, for some men, it's that they're starting to lash out at their partner.
Right.
There's built up anger and it's starting to leak out. Just
Right.
things like that to
Or
to look
pounding
for.
on the steering wheel in traffic or something. Or
Oh yes,
yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
might be
So it's important
normal behavior. I don't know.
but it's important to take a look at it and say, okay, is there something going on that I need to explore here and do something, and then do something about.
Right. And for most men, just that step, we know from all from the work that we've done with, like I said, Mankind Project and other men's groups, and I'm sure in your practice, just that step can feel really foreign. The step of going, huh, I'm feeling something. And you don't even have to, as a first step, don't even try and name it, right? Just like, oh, I am feeling something.
There's
That,
something going on in me. Yeah. Yeah. Because we often just sidestep it and, or stuff it. We don't even realize we're stuffing. And yeah, it's a big first step.
yeah, yeah. And for some folks, that can be, for some men, that can be really challenging, because that admission, that awareness of an emotional self is, again, all that stuff we've been told is unmanly, does not fit with our
Right.
identity, right? So it's like, okay, well, who the heck am I? If I'm am I weak? Am I a pussy? Am I a girl? What are all the, if I actually have emotions, who does that make me then?
Right.
And I think just
Right.
I give every man who's listening to this just permission to just feel all those concerns, feel the feelings, and then feel the feelings about the feelings. And that's okay. That's natural. That's normal.
I actually tell my clients that there's a difference between showing up as a powerful, strong man and feeling their feelings. Like you can be a solid man, know what you stand for, and also be tender at the same time. And one doesn't uh, preclude the other. As a matter of fact, I suggest that you need both. You can be, if you're too strong, you're going to be, you know, a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a macho jerk, you
Yeah.
know. And if you're too tender, you end up being a people pleaser, nice guy. If you have both, it's an imbalance.
Right.
You're. you got it together, and you not only are a good balanced man, but you can be very attractive to your partner.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what my wife was just telling me that yesterday. We were talking about another guy that she had a crush on years and years ago, and she was talking about. I was saying, well, I just met him. I just got to spend some time with him. Like, I get it. I get why you had a crush on that guy. He's really solid and awesome. And she said, yes, that's what I found attractive about him. He knew who he was. He was able to express what was going on for him without blowing back and forth, and he just knew who he was. And she said, I didn't get that when I was growing up. That wasn't present in her family. So being able to see that, and she said, and I saw that in you, Charles, that you're just who you are, and it changes all the time. I'm pretty emotionally labile. I'm joyful. I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm excited. I'm joyful. But I've found a way to express those emotions from a centered core of who I am without worrying about I'm going to go off in this direction or I'm going to go off in that direction. Not Joseph Campbell. Oh, shoot. James Hillman, I think, wrote the book He, and it's a very slim little book about the emotional lives of men. If you can find it, it's out of print. If you can find it, get it. And it tells the story about men and their emotions through myth. And one of the things he talks about is that men are very emotional, but what we tend to do is get stuck in a mood. So emotions are like the weather, right? And some of us we get stuck in a mood, and that's what I'm always worried about, right? So what a lot of men are always worried about, like, how many times have we heard, if I start crying, how many times have you heard that from men? If I start crying, I'm never going to stop.
yeah, it's scary,
Yeah, yeah,
especially when you haven't experienced them, through your life, and it's like, wow, this is a new experience, and it sort of is out of control. It feels like, it'll stay that way.
yeah. So
And
oh, go ahead and finish. Yeah.
that no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, just
Not sure where I was going.
how do you in your practice, how do you support men through that? Okay, well, now you're having a feeling, and now you're having feelings about your feelings, and you're having fears about your feelings or anxiety about your feelings. How do you support guys through that process? I mean, I got to imagine you just congratulate them just for coming to your office at all, but yeah, what's it look like?
It's always about taking small steps, so and it when I'm as I'm coaching my clients, it's always about, creating a personal uh, uh, strategies for them, like, a personalized program for each client. So it's going to be different depending on what they're looking for, but it
So
could look like,
it's like a workout program, a personalized workout program.
well, I actually, with a lot of my clients, I do use that metaphor because it isn't emotions, or it's like an emotional muscle, and they're starting to, and it's atrophied, and they're starting to to work out that emotional muscle.
Yeah.
And then as they, and it's, so looking at it as a long-term process. It's not like you can just flip a switch and they're on. And it's starting small and taking steps. So perhaps like the first thing might be to learn the five basic feelings, and just to notice them. Like you don't even have to do anything other than just watch for them in your daily life. You
Yeah.
know,
So what are those?
and then
What are those five?
mad, sad, glad, shame, and uh, and
Joy,
fear.
love. Oh, fear. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mad, sad, glad, shame, and fear. I wish there were more good ones in there, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, then that's the later step is to. I mean, there's whatever, there are hundreds of other feelings,
Sure.
and so the idea is, I mean, this is the just the first five
The starter kit.
is just your right, exactly, and then the idea is to expand the flavors of your feelings. That's a later step, but first to start small,
Right. Right.
you know,
And to be able
and
to
there's
recognize them and name them. Is that the first step?
yes, just
Yeah.
to start to recognize them within yourself.
Great.
Now there are two sides to this, to emotional availability. Uh, there's number one, it's being able to be in touch with your own feelings, and number two is being able to have empathy for others. Okay, so in as a first step, it's not only being able to get in touch with my feelings, but also being able to start uh, to notice them in your partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, that's another side as well. So a first step there might be to just sit down with your partner and each of you take 10 minutes to share to hear what's going on. Have take 10 minutes to just share whatever is alive for you in the moment,
Yeah.
and the other partner just listens without needing to say anything. Just receive it.
Yeah. Do you want to demo that real quick? We didn't talk about this ahead of time at all, but we could do just a little role play right here.
We could, but
Yeah.
there isn't. We can. There isn't much to it as a first step,
Ah.
because all I'm doing this first step is just you're sharing for your
Yeah.
10 minutes, and I'm listening, I'm receiving it, and I'm doing my best, as I tell my clients, to not be uh, planning out how I'm going to respond, not be thinking about how I'm going to convince you of something different, just to receive it, just to take it in.
Right. Not planning on how I'm going to make you feel better or see how you could just see it a little bit differently and you'd be less upset. Any of that stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's really challenging. And I want to acknowledge, men in that situation when somebody, a wife, a child, an employee, shows up upset, angry, agitated, fearful. What a lot of us want to do and what a lot of us have trained ourselves to do is to feel powerful by trying to help, by trying to fix, by trying to adjust. And it comes from a loving place. It's like if Scott comes to me, he's all agitated, he's scared. I want to soothe him. I want to make him feel better. My wife comes, she's angry at her boss. I want to explain, well, her boss probably didn't really mean that. You don't have to feel that way about it. And what I've learned is that actually disempowers the other person. It takes you away from your emotions. It disempowers my wife Kelly to feel whatever it is that she's feeling, and it means that I'm not connected with her. I'm putting a barrier in between she and me. This barrier is basically saying you should be different, and then I can be there for you, rather than just saying, "Hey, man, whatever comes through the door." She's going to be at work until 7 today. Who knows? She hasn't been at work for some days. She's been working from home. Who knows what'll come through the door at 7 o'clock tonight? Um, and it should all be okay, right? Whatever our loved ones bring to us should just be fine.
Yeah, you may or may not get to the strategizing part, but ultimately that's not what they want, and certainly not first thing.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, First thing for most partners is just to be seen and heard, and it goes back to what we said earlier about that they feel like you matter to them, that you're willing to sit there and just be present. Uh, and sometimes it naturally does go to this, to the strategizing part, but that's not it's connection first.
Yeah, I notice I don't win any points by helping anymore. I don't. I never. My
Yeah,
wife never says to me, "Wow, thank you for helping me figure that out." What she says is, "Thank you for just being. Thank you for just listening to me." And she's the one
exactly.
who goes, "You know what? My boss probably didn't even know what he'd said." Once I've validated her, whatever. Once I've been present for her, she's able to move on. She's an adult. She's not a child. She's good at this stuff. But I think what are some barriers that you see in relationships to that, especially relationships that have been together for a long time? Are there barriers to that kind of change for a man in particular to start, being present and noticing his partner's emotions, or for him to be expressing some of his own emotions?
Well, the first thing we already mentioned, which is it just feels uncomfortable. It's so out of the realm of how they've been most of their life. So That's number one,
Yeah.
you know. And number two that comes to mind is as soon as the in this case the man starts to receive their partner, the partner actually the partner's emotions actually uh, get more intense because, oh, all of a sudden, you know, the partner sees, oh, I'm being heard, and boom, they want to blah it all out at one time.
Yeah.
um, so
And
that, you know, that makes
that can feel like an attack.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So so it's you're seeing it not as an attack, but rather a gift that they're
Mm.
sharing they're comfortable enough to share their vulnerability with you.
Hmm. Wow, that is a powerful ninja move to have somebody have, or maybe it's a wrestling move, just to, to have somebody come at you with powerful emotions and to say, "Oh, thank you. Thank you for that gift."
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's been my personal experience. I even the other a couple weeks back, Kelly was angry at me, and she was just sitting on the other end of the couch, just kind of clamped down, and I asked, what was going on, and she let me have it. And I know enough now to know that what we've just started in that moment is a process of closeness and intimacy and stronger relationship. We're at the very beginning of it. It doesn't feel great right now, but I've been through it enough to know that now I can say thank you, because I want to reward her behavior, right? I want to make it more possible for her to tell me what's going on, knowing that,
Because
yeah, because the end is going to be great. Not necessarily
the end
make,
result is,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
is closeness, is an opportunity for vulnerability and understanding. We're a little old for excellent makeup sex. That doesn't happen so much anymore. But the emotional closeness is just as rewarding.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
such a it's beautiful, and it's so, for me as a man, it's so empowering when I can manage my thoughts, my communication, knowing that it's ultimately for the good. You know, that there's going to be end result that I'm going to enjoy. I am setting aside needing to convince, needing to defend myself uh, for the sake of this longer term uh, vision.
Yeah. Yeah, and it feel I don't know what you feel. This, what you can't see right now is across the top of the screen that everybody else is seeing. Well, I guess you can see it on Facebook. It says redefining strength, and that's been my personal experience with all of this work, is that I actually feel strong. I feel really powerful and grounded when I'm in touch with my emotions and when I'm in relationship with somebody else who's in touch with their emotions. I don't feel weak. I don't feel like a pussy. I don't feel like a victim on the schoolyard like I did in middle school. I feel like somebody who is in exactly the right place, who has lots of resources, and who has support, because the the end result, like you say, is this powerful relationship where now, because I'm available to my wife, she's more available to me, and she says things to me like, "Charles, I got your back." And
Mm, nice.
it's like, "Oh my God, I don't have to do this all on my own." Is that what you're telling me? To have somebody say, "I got your back. I got your back." Like, "Oh my God, that feels awesome." So I know that the more we do that, even the more that we fight, the stronger our relationship is going to be, because we know how to fight well, and to lean in when it's scary, and know that it's going to pass like the weather.
Right. Especially when it's, you know, the good fight,
Yeah,
you know, as opposed to bickering or drama that doesn't go anywhere.
yeah,
And that starts with hearing each other, you know, and not just talking over each other.
yeah. Now, so is there a chance? I'm guessing that some men who are listening to this feel some fear about the idea of trying to shake things up in a 10 or 15 or 20-year marriage that's been founded on these roles, right? That the guy is emotionally not available, that he's tough, that he's stoic, that he's strong, and that the woman is more emotional or whatever. As this is, as a relationship therapist, how do people negotiate blowing up those roles, or maybe taking them apart gently would be a better way to talk about it, simultaneously, so that like I said, I'm guessing that some women initially are attracted to men who feel safe and in control and stoic and kind of macho that way, and then that's no longer satisfying. Well, now he starts to say, "I feel scared." What does that bring up for her, and can she show up for that, or does it just blow apart the relationship and they have to start over?
As a relationship coach, it is challenging because I can't guarantee that the relationship is going to succeed. You know, all I can do is help give them or give him tools that will make it more likely, and especially more likely to be connected with himself.
Hmm.
So it's challenging, and it can be scary to his partner. I mean, not it can be, it is scary because there's going um, to be changes in the relationship. And yes, she came, if the partner is a woman, she came to him, a certain way, attracted to him, and now he's going to go and shift things up. You know, uh, I'm only working with men, but I do teach my clients that I work with to be. Uh, I mean, it's all the same. It's the same dynamic. Whether she's saying that she's complaining about him being emotionally available, or that she's concerned about things changing. It's always about it. It always goes back to him being present to whatever is showing up in her.
Just being present.
you know yeah. And it's so in some ways it's I mean not, in some ways it's not simple, but it's easy. Is that the phrase? Is that how it goes?
It's
um
not it's not
it-
easy,
you
but
know
it's simple. I think
that's
it's the other.
it's
Yeah.
not okay. um because it always goes back to just be present. Whatever's showing up in this moment, be present to it.
And even be
And
present for all of the feelings that are telling you to flee. Right? Like, I don't
correct.
I don't want to be
Yes.
here. Okay, I have to be present for the fact that I don't want to be here right now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So what
So
role?
does that answer your question?
I
Or
think so. It was a question cluster. It wasn't a very straightforward question, so you did great with it. I'm kind of curious though, what role you think, group work like the coaching program that you're starting, or something like Mankind Project or Every Man, or what role those men's groups can play for men who are trying to figure out how to be more emotionally available.
that's great. I'm really glad you brought that up because that's another, one component, as I said earlier, is getting in touch with your feelings. The second component is being able to have the way that you want to show up in the world, have that modeled for you by other men. So I do suggest to my clients to join a men's circle. Um, I've some of my clients that I work with. I work with them one on one, and they join a men's circle, or I have this group coaching program like what I'm starting at the end of the month. That is obviously is a group so that we can model for each other how we want to be. Um, I I think that men's circles are extremely valuable in that. Yeah, like I said already, being able to have modeled for you what you want, and
Hmm.
the other part of it is uh, that there's this what's the word in men's work, that your work is my work.
Right.
So when I see other men that are either struggling or are celebrating, that actually helps me as well. And it's not like I don't have to necessarily share what's going on for me. If I hear other men doing their work, it supports me internally in doing mine.
Right. Right. Yeah, our mirror neurons are so powerful, right? If somebody else is going through something, it's like we're going through it as well. Like the healing happens,
Yeah.
the realizations happen. And my sense too, from my own experience, is that men's groups are a place to. It's like a laboratory or a practice field to kind of do it wrong, to kind of mess up, like to guess wrong. It's Scott. It sounds like you're feeling angry. And you're like, no, I'm feeling joy right now. Can't you tell? Or whatever it is to get it wrong
Yeah.
without consequences in the primary romantic relationship. Um, and the way that the facilitators create those groups, that's the consequences are very low. There's some guardrails. There's some agreements and some boundaries that make it okay to show up raw, screwed up, broken,
As
whatever,
yourself.
as yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts for guys out there that are trying to figure out how to be emotionally available?
Hmm. Yeah, it's I know there's something about that I'm wanting to share. I don't necessarily have a way in here, but you know, looking at taking off your mask, which actually in today's world that's confusing. I actually like to say to uh, be aware of your armor
Yeah.
and to be able to let that begin to drop off your body. Uh, I think it's important to know that over years we do put more and more armor on to protect ourselves, and that as you begin to feel more safe uh, in this new paradigm of that you allow that to fall away.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know
Yeah.
what? That reminds me of another reason that I found men's groups so important was that um, men in those groups and those situations were able to give me some unconditional love that I was craving that allowed me to take more of my armor off. For men in particular, after having been shut down and put down, like most men are in my early years, it was really it was challenging to feel safe around men, and so to find a few men, just a few, who could say, "You're all right, Charles. You're great. You're beautiful. I love you."
Yeah, we haven't talked about this yet. Perhaps this is a topic for another call, but
Yeah,
being man enough, being enough. Uh, it's being in the men's circles. There's a lot of uplifting that happens, and it's different than in other areas of my life. Whether even it's different even from the uplifting that I receive from, um, from my partners, from my girlfriend or ex-wife,
hmm
that I've received in the past. I'm not currently in a relationship, but that it's just being with healthy men. It allows you to 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 be uplifted and to feel like you're good the way you are.
yeah, and a little less guarded. Take off this piece of armor and that piece of armor, and maybe later this piece of armor, and yeah, can hear them clanking and
Yeah.
hitting the floor. Yeah, it's we talked earlier, easy steps of just trying to identify what you're feeling, not even necessarily trying to share it with anybody else, and that's the first step. But if you can do that in a group with men, or in a coaching group like you're gonna start at the end of the month, I think that's really powerful. And any men who are, kind of working on this already, if you've got comments or ideas or other suggestions for how to be more emotionally available, right? This is a conversation that's happening around the world with, some part of half of the population of the world, right? Men are trying to figure this out. So it's not just experts like Scott figuring this out. We're all figuring it out together. So yeah, drop some comments and let us know what you think. And we will continue these conversations. We do something like this every couple of weeks. I don't know who's coming up next on Redefining Strength, but we'll continue to have these conversations. And thank you, Scott. Just being able to talk with you from our various quarantines is uplifting for me, and to hear about your work and your insights helps keep me focused on being, as you said, you know, being the man that I want to be, showing up how I want to show up. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, you're welcome, Charles. It's really gratifying to be able to be here, and really lovely to be able to contribute to more men out in the world.
Yeah, yeah, messing it up, but getting better all the time.
Exactly.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.